Tesla era didn't end with a bang, it ended when no one was watching. While Elon Musk was busy tweeting, BYD took the crown and never gave it back. You won't hear it in Silicon Valley boardrooms, but in factories across Asia, ports in Europe, and government offices in Africa, the new king of electric vehicles isn't American, it's Chinese, and it's eating Tesla alive from the inside out. While Elon mocked his rivals, BYD quietly built the world's biggest EV infrastructure, captured fleet deals, and won over entire nations. Not with hype, with results. Why are governments backing BYD over Tesla? What does Wall Street know that the public doesn't? And how did Elon lose everything without firing a shot? What's happening? While Elon Musk was busy arguing on social media, launching satellites, and name-dropping Dogecoin on earnings calls, something massive was happening beneath his radar. BYD wasn't just a Chinese car company. They were a patient, relentless force, slowly conquering the electric vehicle battlefield without ever needing to fire a shot. It didn't happen overnight. BYD has been laying the foundation for this takeover for more than 15 years. Back in 2008, while Tesla was struggling to get the original Roadster off the ground, BYD made a decision that would define their future. They would control their own batteries, every cell, every pack, every module, and not just control it, they would build it themselves. That gave them something no other automaker in the world had: vertical integration on a scale even Tesla couldn't match. While Musk outsourced lithium refining and nickel supply deals, BYD went upstream. They bought their own lithium mines. They built their own chip foundries. They established government-backed battery plants all across China. And when the global chip shortage hit in 2021, Tesla stumbled. BYD didn't flinch. They had already insulated themselves from the chaos the world wasn't ready for. And that's only half the story. BYD also understood something Tesla still doesn't. They built real partnerships. While Elon Musk was busy tweeting memes about short sellers, BYD was sitting in government boardrooms, drafting long-term subsidy and infrastructure plans. They became a key partner in China's national clean energy strategy. And this new tech didn't just rewrite the rulebook. It erased Tesla's advantage entirely. Why BYD's rise was inevitable, and nobody saw it. The West laughed at Chinese car companies. They mocked the names. They ridiculed the styling. They called the products knockoffs and copycats. Car reviewers in the United States and Europe treated them like jokes. Too cheap, too weird, too foreign. But while they laughed, BYD was building something unstoppable. Because what the world missed, what Tesla missed, is that BYD never cared about Western approval. They cared about Eastern dominance. They weren't trying to sell to luxury buyers in Los Angeles or tech bros in Austin. They were trying to electrify Southeast Asia, Latin America, Africa, and rural China. Markets with billions of drivers, not just millions. Markets that didn't need a $60,000 SUV. Markets that needed a reliable, electric, subcompact car for under $25,000. So while Musk was taking victory laps at shareholder meetings, BYD was securing contracts with taxi fleets in Thailand, buses in Colombia, ride-sharing apps in India, and entire cities in China. The numbers started to swell. By 2023, BYD was already outselling Tesla in unit volume inside China. By 2024, they passed Tesla in global EV sales. And by early 2025, the Seagull became the best-selling electric car on Earth. The real irony? Elon Musk helped make it possible. His aggressive pricing wars in China triggered consumer fatigue. His political commentary pushed away European regulators, and his refusal to build smaller, more affordable vehicles opened the floodgates for BYD's subcompact takeover. What Tesla dismissed as low-end competition became a category-defining juggernaut, and the biggest red flag of Elon Musk's life? It wasn't a bad earnings report, it was the arrival of a car that cost less than one-third of a Model Y, and didn't need a single tweet to go viral. And while the world mocked, Elon Musk kept missing the biggest red flag of his life. Tesla didn't even see it coming. And now the industry belongs to BYD. Want to know who's next? Might be worth hitting that subscribe button. The sales crash that shook Wall Street. In less than 90 days, Tesla lost more than half of its market value. It wasn't a glitch. It wasn't a correction. It was a signal, a loud, undeniable warning that one of the most iconic companies in modern history had hit a wall. The story begins in Europe, where Tesla once reigned supreme, outselling legacy automakers and defining what the future of electric cars was supposed to look like. From 2019 to 2022, Tesla was untouchable, but by the first quarter of 2025, everything collapsed. Sales in in Germany dropped by more than 73%. In France, over 60%. Across the European Union, Tesla's numbers cratered by more than 70% compared to the previous year. These weren't just bad numbers, they were catastrophic. Investors didn't wait for an explanation. They ran. Hedge funds, pension managers, and individual shareholders all scrambled to dump Tesla stock. By the end of March, Tesla's stock price had plunged by 53%, wiping out over $400 billion in market capitalization. This wasn't the slow bleeding of an aging company. It was the rapid disintegration of a brand that had once been seen as invincible. Analysts on Bloomberg and CNBC stopped talking about Tesla's next big product and started asking if Tesla could survive at all. The fall was swift, brutal, and completely unexpected. The company that had once promised to lead the world into the electric age had become its biggest warning sign. And just when it seemed like the numbers couldn't get any worse, something even more dangerous hit the headlines. Because the sales collapse wasn't just about demand, it was about politics. And Europe had just fired the first shot. The EU strikes back, and Tesla pays first. What looked like a market crash was actually a coordinated strike. Europe didn't just wake up and decide to walk away from Tesla. It was retaliation. And Elon Musk, whether he realized it or not, was the target. Just weeks after President Donald Trump imposed sweeping new tariffs on European goods, the European Union hit back hard. Brussels announced that retaliatory tariffs would be applied to American electric vehicles, especially those manufactured by Tesla. Unlike legacy automakers that spread production across multiple nations, Tesla had pinned much of its European strategy on its gigafactory in Berlin. That bet backfired. The EU's tariff package was laser-focused. Key components used in Tesla vehicles, batteries, semiconductors, aluminum body frames, were slapped with increased import duties. Simultaneously, Tesla's local factory subsidies came under scrutiny. Investigations were launched into whether Tesla had violated environmental standards and labor rules at the Berlin plant. Suddenly, Tesla's entire European operation was on life support, and the messaging from European leaders was crystal clear. Tesla would be made an example. The political strategy was simple: hit where it hurts. By targeting Tesla, the EU wasn't just retaliating against American tariffs. It was punishing a symbol of American economic aggression. It was telling the world that trade wars would not go unanswered, and that even the most powerful names in Silicon Valley weren't untouchable. Musk responded with defiance, but the damage was done. European sales continued to drop. Production in Berlin slowed to a crawl. Tesla's market share across the continent shrank faster than analysts thought possible. And while this all played out on the global stage, Musk's next move would make things even worse, because his greatest strength, his voice, was about to become his greatest liability. Elon Musk's mouth becomes Tesla's biggest liability. It began, as so many things do with Elon Musk, on Twitter. In the early days of the tariff war, Musk posted cryptic, mocking messages aimed at European regulators. He called EU trade officials protectionist dinosaurs and accused Germany's auto industry of being afraid of real innovation. It was supposed to be clever, maybe even a little provocative, but it backfired spectacularly. Within hours, Musk's comments were front-page news across Europe. Politicians condemned him. Industry leaders distanced themselves. And for the first time, European consumers began turning away, not just from Tesla's products, but from Elon Musk himself. Protests erupted outside Tesla showrooms in Berlin, Paris, and Madrid. Activists held signs that read, "No more Musk madness," and "Don't buy American arrogance." What started as a reaction to tariffs became a cultural revolt. Tesla wasn't just an automaker anymore. It was the embodiment of a tech billionaire's ego gone too far. In Germany, consumer unions launched boycotts. In France, influencers with millions of followers began publicly canceling Tesla. Musk's own words had turned the company into a political punching bag. Back in the United States, the consequences were just as severe. The U.S. Commerce Secretary publicly questioned Tesla's risk to the American economy, citing Elon's erratic behavior as a liability. Financial institutions responded by accelerating divestments. Regulatory agencies, already wary of Musk's political antics, began tightening scrutiny of Tesla's factory practices and corporate filings. Even Tesla's suppliers started to hedge, seeking other contracts in case the company's instability spread further. This was no longer a story about one man's bad tweets. It was about how a single executive's unchecked mouth could unravel an entire corporate empire. And while Tesla flailed, another player stepped onto the global stage and didn't just compete, it dominated. BYD doesn't just compete. It dominates. While Tesla was trying to put out fires across Europe and Wall Street, BYD was quietly setting the world on fire in the best way possible. In the span of 6 months, the Chinese automaker more than doubled its export volume. Latin America, Southeast Asia, Africa, Australia. Everywhere that Tesla had either ignored or failed to establish a foothold, BYD moved in. And they weren't just bringing electric vehicles. They were bringing options. BYD's Dolphin, Atto 3, and Seal models quickly became bestsellers in emerging markets. Their pricing was aggressive, their build quality exceeded expectations, and their logistics were lightning fast. While Tesla was stuck recalculating tariffs and apologizing for Elon's latest comment, BYD was loading cargo ships full of vehicles destined for new customers in 30 countries. But the real genius wasn't just in the distribution, it was in perception. In Europe, BYD played a perfect cultural game. No drama, no political feuds, just sleek cars, affordable financing, and a narrative that framed them as the underdog with brains. Local media picked it up. Reviewers praised their software. Influencers loved the designs. And slowly, BYD began to replace Tesla not just in the sales charts, but in the public imagination. A car that once felt like the symbol of the future, Tesla, now felt bloated, overpriced, and politically toxic. BYD, by contrast, was the brand that just worked, and it wasn't over. Because BYD's dominance wasn't limited to market share. It was starting to rewrite what people expected from an electric vehicle. And that shift, it wasn't going away. While BYD soared and Tesla spiraled, the global rules of electric dominance were being rewritten, and what happened next would shake the entire industry to its core. Why governments are betting on BYD, not Tesla? Follow the money, because it's no longer flowing toward Elon Musk. Across the globe, governments have quietly shifted their bets away from Tesla and toward an unlikely new champion, BYD. In country after country, public funding, energy infrastructure contracts, and long-term industrial policy initiatives are now pointing in one direction. And it's not Silicon Valley. In Brazil, BYD just secured a major government contract to retrofit entire public transportation systems with electric buses and battery infrastructure. The same deal Tesla once bid for. In Chile and Argentina, BYD signed raw materials agreements that give them first rights to lithium extraction from some of the richest salt flats in the world. These aren't just one-off contracts. They're multi-decade arrangements that give BYD control of the battery supply chain from the ground up. In Africa, BYD made another stunning move. It opened up regional assembly hubs in Kenya and South Africa. These facilities are tailored to help local governments electrify their public fleets, taxis, buses, municipal vehicles. But here's the twist. Governments are offering BYD generous tax breaks, exclusive land use rights, and carbon credits in return. Why? Because BYD isn't just selling cars. It's offering entire turnkey ecosystems, energy grids, battery recycling, solar installations. Tesla talked about doing this for years. BYD is already delivering. Meanwhile, in Europe, BYD has quietly become the go-to partner for national-level EV strategy. In Hungary, a massive BYD factory broke ground with direct financial backing from the Hungarian state. France, long hesitant to court Chinese automakers, is now in negotiations with BYD to support battery production on French soil. Even Germany, a Tesla stronghold, has begun diversifying its energy partnerships to include BYD's grid technology, especially after Elon Musk's repeated public clashes with European regulators. All of this raises a chilling question for Elon Musk. If foreign governments are building the next generation of EV infrastructure and BYD is their chosen partner, what happens to Tesla's global influence? The answer may be even more uncomfortable than expected, because even in the United States, Tesla's biggest supporter wasn't the people, it was the government. And because while BYD builds the world's EVs, Tesla is starting to lose something even more foundational. It's cool. Why Tesla's brand is officially uncool. There was a time when driving a Tesla meant you were part of the future. The car wasn't just electric, it was a cultural statement. Clean, smart, bold. You were the kind of person who saw tomorrow before the rest of the world. But today, that future looks outdated, and being a Tesla driver doesn't mean what it used to. On TikTok and Instagram, Tesla is no longer the star. Instead, it's the butt of the joke. Influencers mock its panel gaps, its glitchy autopilot, and Musk's latest meltdown on social media. Once hailed as the Steve Jobs of cars, Elon Musk is now more often compared to a tech cult leader whose greatest asset, his charisma, has curdled into controversy. Youth-focused market research firms like YPulse and GWI report a sharp drop in Gen Z and millennial affinity for Tesla. According to surveys from the first quarter of 2025, over 64% of consumers under the age of 30 now view Tesla as out of touch or overhyped. That's not just image, it's future sales walking out the door. Meanwhile, BYD is slowly becoming what Tesla once was. Not flashy, not arrogant, just relentlessly effective and increasingly visible in everyday life. The Dolphin and Seal models are showing up in urban neighborhoods, university parking lots, and rideshare fleets. These are not halo cars. They're everyday EVs, and they work. They're affordable, reliable, and best of all, they're not politically radioactive. This perception gap is Tesla's Achilles heel. Elon Musk's constant social media presence may keep him in the news, but it's also turned the brand into a polarizing symbol. In surveys, Tesla's approval among self-identified liberals and moderates has cratered. And even among conservatives, the shine is wearing off. So if Tesla isn't cool anymore, who is? The answer, shockingly, might not even be an EV company at all, because what's replacing Tesla in consumers' minds isn't a brand. It's an idea that Elon Musk may have invented but can no longer control. The silent collapse of Tesla's innovation edge. Tesla didn't just sell cars, it sold the future. Autonomy, smart homes, renewable ecosystems. The idea was simple. Owning a Tesla meant joining a smarter world. But in 2025, that illusion has quietly shattered. Tesla is no longer the company with the fastest updates, the most advanced tech, or the boldest experiments. It's the company that's stuck. The Cybertruck, once a symbol of disruptive design, is still plagued by production delays, software bugs, and basic performance issues. The Autopilot suite, which Musk promised would achieve full autonomy years ago, remains in regulatory limbo, with limited rollout and a growing pile of lawsuits. And battery innovation. Tesla is now behind BYD. BYD's Blade battery is thinner, cooler, and cheaper to produce. It has passed every global safety standard without exploding. It also gives BYD cars longer real-world range at a lower cost. And it doesn't rely on cobalt, avoiding some of the ethical supply chain traps Tesla still struggles with. Internally, Tesla engineers are sounding the alarm. Reports have leaked of morale problems across Giga, Texas and Palo Alto. Key engineering leaders have left. A recent survey on Glassdoor shows Tesla's internal satisfaction rates have fallen by over 30% in just 12 months. Why? Because the company is no longer pushing boundaries. It's trying to patch holes. Tesla's once legendary pace of innovation has been replaced by reactive scrambling. Updates delayed, projects shelved. Experimental divisions like Tesla Bot are draining resources, while Model S and Model Y continue to age. One employee was quoted anonymously saying, "We used to break stuff to innovate. Now we're just trying not to break the brand." And just as Tesla began losing its grip on the future, BYD made its final devastating move, one that no one saw coming. The protests begin, and Tesla factories turn into battlegrounds. A few scattered picket signs and a handful of angry workers quickly snowballed into a global reckoning. By the spring of 2025, Tesla wasn't battling regulators or competitors. It was fighting a rebellion from within its own workforce. In Berlin, hundreds gathered outside the Gigafactory with signs that read, "No more Musk madness," and "Our labor, not his ego." Across the ocean in Austin, factory workers organized spontaneous walkouts, triggered by weeks of silence from leadership over looming layoffs and evaporating stock options. The electric revolution had promised them jobs, stability, and a better future. What they got instead were broken promises and political drama. For many, Elon Musk had gone from visionary to villain. But these weren't just labor protests. They were ideological uprisings. Environmental activists who once cheered Tesla's mission were now blocking delivery centers with banners accusing the company of greenwashing. Clean cars, dirty politics. One read, "In Oslo, Paris, and Madrid, activist networks staged simultaneous disruptions, throwing paint across Tesla storefronts and demanding that Europe cut ties with the controversial brand." It wasn't just about emissions or wages anymore. It was about identity, ethics, and betrayal. Musk's increasingly erratic behavior on social media, supporting far-right policies, mocking climate scientists, and defending tariffs, only added fuel to the fire. The very coalitions that once powered Tesla's rise, tech fans, fans, eco-warriors, and progressive families were now leading the charge against it. The protests were coordinated, sophisticated, and relentless. Unions in the United States and Germany began floating formal complaints to their respective governments. Whispers of cross-border labor alliances surfaced. Inside the factories, tension reached a boiling point. Anonymous leaks described employees crying on the production floor, unsure if their jobs would survive the next quarter. Some began filming the conditions and uploading them to TikTok, where the hashtag #TeslaTakedown went viral in under 72 hours. Musk tried to dismiss the unrest as activist theater, but it was too late. The world was yelling, and now the media had started to echo it. How the media turned on Elon Musk overnight. 1 year ago, Elon Musk was a media darling. He could tweet a dog emoji and move markets. Now, the headlines read like obituaries. The fall of a titan, Tesla's house of cards, Musk's meltdown. What triggered the turn wasn't just the financial collapse, it was the moral one. After years of journalists biting their tongues or cautiously praising his eccentric genius, the dam finally broke. Mainstream outlets like the New York Times, Financial Times, and Bloomberg began running exposés. Tech publications once obsessed with Tesla's updates now published whistleblower interviews and leaked internal documents. One insider described Tesla as a house on fire with no fire department. It wasn't just legacy media. Influencers and YouTubers, many of whom had built entire careers hyping Tesla products, began walking back their praise. A former Tesla evangelist with over 3 million subscribers released a 40-minute video titled, "I Was Wrong About Elon," detailing years of overlooked red flags and public manipulation. The clip trended for days, racking up tens of millions of views. Comment sections became confessionals. People talked about canceling orders, regretting purchases, even selling their stock. Tesla was no longer the symbol of progress. It had become a case study in how power corrupts innovation. Consumer watchdog groups piled on. Reports surfaced alleging rising defect rates, deteriorating service centers, and software updates that introduced more problems than they solved. A German regulator published a damning analysis accusing Tesla of circumventing emissions, reporting standards through vague digital loopholes. In Washington, the Federal Trade Commission confirmed an investigation into Tesla's advertising practices. The press had flipped, and it wasn't flipping back. Elon Musk had spent years playing with fire. Now the house was burning. And while Tesla lost the streets, it also lost the inside, its own people. Is this the end of Tesla's golden age? At this point, it's hard to call it anything but a collapse. Tesla's sales have cratered. Its reputation has imploded. Its CEO is now more famous for political flame wars than automotive breakthroughs. But maybe the real tragedy isn't that Tesla fell. It's that it might not be able to get back up. What once seemed like a temporary backlash has revealed itself as a full-blown identity crisis. This isn't just the end of a product cycle. This is the unraveling of a movement. Tesla was once a cultural force, redefining electric cars and turning buyers into believers. But Elon Musk's battles with regulators, unions, and governments derailed the mission. Innovation gave way to controversy, and the dream of a cleaner future lost its shine. Meanwhile, the world moved on. China built better batteries. Europe retaliated with surgical tariffs. Korea overtook Tesla in quality rankings. And families, real people making real decisions, chose brands that didn't feel like a gamble. Even Tesla's own engineers began to question the direction, the software glitches, the supply chain chaos, the culture of fear around speaking out. It all added up. What was once the future now feels outdated. Can Tesla come back? Maybe. But not without a fundamental reinvention. Not without addressing the rot at the top. Not without facing the fact that its greatest strength, Elon Musk, has become its biggest liability. Tesla doesn't just need a new product. It needs a new narrative, a new promise. And until that happens, the question remains, was this the fall of a titan or just its latest test? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.